Assalamualaikum and hi. In this video, we're going to explore together how to create our very first Java graphical user interface, focusing on the front end, where we're going to look into how to build the visual elements of a system, where we will have a login interface with username, password, and a login button. Before we explore this further, it is good if we can look into the essential components needed to build this interface. So we will need to have a JPanel with a title border where the title is login interface, and within that JPanel, we're going to have two JLabels. One is for the username, one for password, and we will need to have two JTextField, one for the user to input their username and another one for the user to input their password. And finally, there will be a JButton, which is the login button. Now, let's get started. I assume you will have your NetBeans IDE open and ready. We're going to create a new project by clicking on File. On your left-hand side, select New Project. You can see a lot of different options here like Maven, Grader, and these are all the different types of build automations too we have within NetBeans IDE. We'll go for Java with and Java applications. Click on Next. You need to provide a name for your project. I would choose login interface in this case. And remember also you will need to uncheck this create main class because we do not need that. And if you didn't uncheck this, you will encounter problems when you run the project later on. So please uncheck this and click on finish. NetBeans will create a project for you with the name of login interface. As you can see on your left-hand side here, to proceed, we'll first create a JForm. So right-click on the login interface, the project, select new JFrame form. Okay. For the class name, you can put in anything you like. I will choose login UI. You'll also need to create a package here where I will put my login UI and click on finish. You should be able to see a JFrame like this. So you need to familiar yourself with the interface that we're dealing with here, where on your left-hand side, you will see the navigators, which help you to navigate to different components that you will create. And you have a palette on your right-hand side here, where from here you can select all the components that you like and put that into your JFrame at the center here. And you will also have a properties elements here, where it shows the properties of the components that you are going to create. So for example, in this case, I only have a JFrame, so it shows the property of the JFrames. Now, to move on, I'm going to add a panel to my JFrame. As you can see, I just select the panel here under the swing containers and drag and drop it to my JFrame. Of course, you can resize your JPanel as you like. So for example, now I just resize it so that the size is kind of like aligned with my JFrame. I'm going to make my JFrame smaller here. So you have a JFrame here. If you notice, when I click on the JFrame, I can see the property of our JFrames. Now, if I click on the JPanel, I will see the property of my JPanel. Of course, you can always move these up and down so that you can have a look into the properties, for example. Now, if you go back to the interface that I've shown you earlier, you will know that we will need to create a title border for our JPanel. There are a few different ways that you can do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the properties. Okay, so of course, first you need to click on the JPanel. Now, if you go to the properties, you can see a lot of different properties here. In order for us to create a title border, we need to go to the border here. You can see an ellipsis here. Click on the ellipsis. Okay, because for now there's no border, I'm going to click on the ellipsis and I'm going to select title border. Under the title, then I can put in the title that I want, which will be login interface. Of course, you can change the color, font. I'm going to show you one of the examples where I change the font. Click on the ellipses, select the features that you like. For example, now I go for bold and 14, click on OK, OK again, and you will see there is now a title for my JPanel. Moving on, I will need to put in the label. Remember, we need to have two labels, one for the username and one for the password. So I do this by just simply drag and drop. So now I have two JLabel, 1 and 2. And then I'm going to add in another 2 text field. So 1, 2. So you can see here under the string control, you have a lot of different components that you can add to your JPanel here. Okay, for now, because we just need the JLabel and JTextField. Of course, later on, we're going to add a button. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the value within this component here. So for example, for JLabel 1, we know that this should be the username. So what I can do is I can just double click on that on my label and change the value to username. And for JLabel 2, that will be password, right? Okay. And as for the text field, of course, I can resize that as well to make it longer. And within the text field, I do not want to have anything because I will expect a user to input their username and password. So what I can do is I can right click on that text field, click on edit text and remove the text. Do the same for text field 2, where I again right click on edit text and remove the values. Okay, so you can always rearrange your components or realign your components. If you notice, as I move my components within this JPanel, there will be a few lines shown here which help you or guide you in making sure that all the components are aligned to each other. So here I just move it up a little bit and make sure that everything is aligned to each other. Now what I need finally would be a button, which is a lock-in button. Go back to the string controls under palettes. You can see here there's a button where I'm going to drag and drop that to my JPanel. And of course, I would need to change the value within. Similar to the input text field, I'm going to right click, edit text and change that to lock-in. So basically now you have a very simple lock-in interface. You can do a preview by going to the top here where you can see source, design history, and a few icons. Go for the icons with the eye symbol. So this is the preview design, where if you click on that, you will see the design preview of your lock-in interface. So we have username, password. Here, user should be able to input anything, and they can click on the login button. Of course, if you don't want to do a preview, you can straight away run the project. You are able to run the project now. So we can go for run project login interface. You need to select login UI as the main class, something which we have created earlier, and click on OK. It takes some time for NetBeans IDE to run that project, and you should be able to see the login interface prompt. So here we have that login interface, and as I said earlier, you can put in the value. For example, here I put in check GUI coding, and for password, let's say I put ABC123. So you can see a problem here, which we are going to fix in the next video, where we're going to look into how to hide this, because in the normal situations, whenever you put in a username and password, your password is hidden, right? And also, if you notice, if I click on the login button, nothing will happen, because as I said, at the beginning of this video, we just focus on the visual elements of the interface. For this video, you just need to know how to put in all the different components together to design an interface as per the requirement. Later on, as we progress, I'm going to show you how you can actually add functionalities to this component. For example, in this case will be, how can I add functionalities to the login button so that when user click on the login button, something will happen. And we know that that something is the verifications or the authentications will happen. Now, if you are interested, you can also look into the code of this login interface, right? So even though you are using the drag and drop features to create the whole interface, there are actually Java codes behind it. So now if I close this and I go back to my source design history, and if you click on the source, you can see all the Java codes that I use to make up the interface that we have created earlier. So you can see here you have JButton, label 1, label 2, panel 1, text field 1, text field 2, right? Okay, so you do not need to memorize all these codes. What you need to know will be how to use the powerful drag and drop features within the NetBeans IDE in helping you to create your first graphical user interface. And later on, we will then learn how to add Java codes to this interface so that the interface will be functional. So I hope you can try it out yourself to create your very first Java GUI. Thank you very much.